Sabres finally drop one, and the Bills make a defensive move that may signal a brand new look. Hi, I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick, and let's get the first little bit of sad news out of the way. Pour one out. The Sabres, the Buffalo Sabres, finally lost a game post-Olympic break. It was bound to happen, right? They went on an 8-game run. They were looking for their 9th win, and I don't know that I can be mad about it, right? Unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to watch the game, but from what I was following on social media and online, they came out hot in the first period, and then in the second and third periods, they just kind of tailed off. It'll happen to any team, particularly teams that are on a long win streak. I don't think I don't think they would lose a series to, I think it might have been Columbus they were playing. But whoever they were playing, I don't think they would lose. I'm not worried about the Sabres. I think they had some really good points come out of that game. They, not points on the scoreboard. I mean points like for their team. They sort of saw some weaknesses in their lineups. They can tweak some things, and they can come back strong and beat the Toronto Maple Leafs on Saturday, which, heaven help me, I badly want them to beat the Toronto Maple Leafs on Saturday. That's an old school rivalry, Sabres and Toronto Maple Leafs, that I'm very, very hopeful for a good game. Not a good game for the Maple Leafs, obviously. I'm hopeful for a good game for the Sabres, who hopefully just walk them off the ice. I would love it if they just walk them off the ice. That would be fun for me. Plus, then I could stitch another one of Sid Shaharo's, I think it's how you pronounce his name. His name's Sid. His last name is Seixero. I don't know quite how to pronounce that, but I could, he gets very serious about things, right? Like, it's like, this is the most serious thing that has ever happened. Sid, look me in my eyes. It's sports. It's not that deep. It's okay. You'll be fine. But he's a Maple Leafs guy, so I would enjoy, barking at him a little bit, just as I barked at him about the whole, Canada. Which, by the way, Sid, you said that the Americans wouldn't care about the fact that they won gold at the Olympics. Not going to lie to you. Almost every American I've talked to still cares about the fact that we beat the Canadians and your stupid little stormtrooper uniforms. Still haven't gotten a good answer to why the Canadians started using black on the maple leaf, by the way. That's a question that remains unanswered. I asked that question. Somebody commented the Canadians have been using black in their uniform, in their international uniform, for a while. And my question is, why? My dad and I did the research. We went around and we looked for any example of where Canada uses black for the leaf. And historically speaking, outside of hockey, you do not. Figure out your stuff, Canada. Make it make sense. But I'll leave you guys alone for the moment. You're taking some hits, and hopefully the Sabres come out and deliver a bunch more hits to the Toronto Maple Leafs on Saturday. Really looking forward to that game. Pivoting to the Buffalo Bills. The Bills yesterday made a move that was celebrated across social media as them finally signing a dog. D-A-W-G, as people put it. This is the ESPN headline from a little while ago. Veteran safety CJ Gardner-Johnson signs with the Bills. Signing with the Bills on a 1-year deal worth up to $6 million. You love those headlines, right? Uber Hansen on Twitter put it a good way. Those headlines are clearly written by a player's agents who want to show the maximum amount of money only on a deal. And the reason they want to show the maximum amount of money, it's really to show the next team, right? Like, this is what my client gets in deals. This is now the minimum we're going to talk about next time around. But CJ Gardner-Johnson is a player who is known for, he's boom or bust, as they say. Now, his boom is big. He has a fantastic career of ball hawking and putting fear in the hearts of wide receivers who choose to go over the middle, which, according to Emmanuel Acho of the Speakeasy, formerly of Fox Sports, is something the Bills have lacked for quite some time. Now, I'm going to disagree with Emmanuel Acho. He is he's a good commentator, and he was a decent player. So I'm not going to disagree with him too hard. I'm just going to say, like, he was, saying different things about the Bills. And he was being, if you watch the whole video of him commenting about how the Bills have not had an enforcer on defense before, he was really being very complimentary, but saying that despite these strengths, they haven't had this enforcer. I disagree slightly. I agree that Micah Hyde was never an enforcer. He was a great player, never an enforcer. Jordan Poyer would mix it up with people. He would, he'd lay a hit on some people. So I would disagree that he wasn't an enforcer. Matt Milano, was known as a sure tackler and hard hitter. Terrell Bernard, okay, no, he's not known as an enforcer, but he's known as an incredibly intelligent linebacker. So I disagree with him slightly on that, but CJ Gardner-Johnson does bring a high level of physicality to a defense. It's just the way he plays. And a lot of people made a big deal about the fact that Sean McDermott never would have signed a guy like him because he doesn't fit the Bills' culture or whatever. There's a lot of kind of revisionist history going on with Sean McDermott, like in both directions. Like, we're making it sound like he's both, he had this kind of tight-fisted control over the roster. He's the only guy who had any control over the roster. And also that he was the best coach in the history of forever. The truth is somewhere in the middle. Sean had his faults as a coach, but he also had his big upsides. And one of those big upsides was building a very, very, very tight winning culture in Buffalo. Now, the tightness part of that culture, debatable whether that was needed, but he took a team that had been in a playoff drought for years and brought it to relevance again. So maybe let's not, completely crap on what the guy did. That being said, I agree with the analysis that I don't think Sean McDermott would have signed CJ because for him, the calculus of might this upset the locker room balance was an important one. And quite frankly, Gardner-Johnson might. He's a guy who will come in and he will wait for padded practice and he'll go after his own teammates. Not viciously or violently or like, oh, I want to take out my own quarterback, but just because he wants to hit. And that's not a bad thing to have on your defense. You just have to make sure you have a coach who can control that, right? That's really when CJ Gardner-Johnson has flourished. That is a long-ass name to say. And it's hard for me to say CJGJ over and over again. But he flourishes when he has a coach who can kind of direct that. Let's put another way. If you don't have the right coach coaching CJGJ, that dog becomes an a-hole real quick. And it's a fine line you got to walk with a player like that. Now, hopefully Joe Brady and Jim Leonard are the coaches to, point him in the right direction and use that attitude where it needs to be used. But again, we're going into a season with a bunch of questions. The Bills have, on paper, filled a lot of the needs that they had. They've made it so that they, with a couple more pieces, can go into the draft and go after who they want instead of what they need. And I think they're in a pretty good position. You don't win games in March, but so far they've done a good job of setting themselves up to win games. But that's just my take on it. I don't know. I could be wrong. But then again, I could be right. I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. Have a great day.